Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, then welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I make book related videos on this channel and occasionally a few travel related and a few movie related videos as well, and I post on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays. So if you like my content, if you like the kind of videos that you see on my channel, then don't forget to hit subscribe and click on that bell icon so that you can stay updated with my videos. I'm here today with my August book haul because I bought a lot of books in August, which I probably shouldn't have, because I'd already bought like about 100 books in the first half of the year, and until July, that is. Don't mind my hair, it's all frizzy, I just washed it. Anywho, so I decided that I'm going to go on a book buying ban from September to November and not buy any books in these 3 months. But you know what? Today is the 8th of September and last night I couldn't fall asleep, and guess what I did? I bought 3 Kindle ebooks. I will share those at the end of this video, but from now on I'm going on a total book buying ban and I'm not going to buy any books. So without further ado, let's get into this video and let me share with you all the books that I bought or got in August 2020. First up is Mouse by Art Spiegelman. This is a graphic novel. Yeah, this is set in Auschwitz, and as far as I know, this is one of the most critically acclaimed graphic novels of all time. I know I said that about Watchmen as well. So yes, I'm really looking forward to read this book. I wouldn't say excited, but I'm really looking forward to read this book. Okay, next up is The Peri by Pankaj Kapoor. Just look at this stunning cover, okay? I finished reading this yesterday and it's such a beautiful story. It's simple, it's sweet, it's funny, and it's simply beautiful. Okay, this had been on my wish list for a long time and I finally bought it, and imagine my own surprise when I actually finished reading it as well. I mean, it helps that this is like 84 pages long, but that's a different matter altogether. That's a different story, so we are not going to talk about that. So yes, I'll talk more about this in my September wrap up, so stay tuned for that. So this next book has reminded me that I can't for the life of me remember things that I've read about books. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Google's help to share with you what the book is actually about. The Kindle ebook for Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and this is Gothic fiction as the name suggests. Google actually classifies it as Gothic fiction, horror fiction, historical fiction, fantasy fiction, historical fantasy. I mean, okay, that's all I'm going to say, because this is a long ass blurb, and the very fact that it is Gothic fiction but it's also classified as horror fiction is giving me the chills right now. I don't know what is going to happen when I read this book. Next up is another Kindle ebook, and it's called The Sword of Kaigen by ML Wang. There were so many people on Bookstagram who were saying that this is an amazing book. It sort of had my heart, and you know that those two are sentences that I will die for. This is a fantasy fiction story, and this is about, let me read it out to you as I mentioned, and it is a mother struggling to repress her violent past, a son struggling to grasp his violent future, a father blind to the danger that threatens them all. Okay, so many people have been raving about it, and I was getting this at a very cheap price, and at cheap price I really mean cheap price, because the ebook was for 29 rupees and I'm like, I'm sold. Next up is the ebook for Salvation of a Saint by Kigo Higashino. I read Malice last year and I absolutely loved it. I mean, he has a way of writing mysteries and crime thrillers that I really enjoyed. I mean, Malice was the only Kigo Higashino book that I'd ever read, so I got this book as well. So basically, murder mysteries have me going, I want to know what happened, and the other me is going saying, someone was killed soon. That's what happened. Next up is a review copy that I got from Bloomsbury India. Thank you, Bloomsbury, for the review copy. And the book I'm talking about is Humankind, A Hopeful History by Rutger Bregman. And I know it's unfair to compare, but this reminds me a lot of the concept of Sapiens. I haven't read that book, so I can't say how similar or how different these two books are. I'm hoping that I will enjoy this book, especially because November is coming and I'm planning a non-fiction readathon for November. So let's see how that one goes, and I'm hoping to read this during November, and I hope that I will enjoy it. Next up is a book from Rupa Publications. Thank you, Rupa, for sending me this book, and the book in question is Mohini the Enchantress by Anuja Chandramouli. I am really excited to read this. I warned you that I would say this. I warned you beforehand. And this is also part of my September TBR. I'll be reading this as part of the Fresh Off My Shelf readathon for the prompt called Mythological Retelling of Fiction. I hope I get through this. Next up is an arc that I got from NetGalley, and that book is The Beauty of Your Face by Seher Mustafa, and this is the story of a Palestinian American woman who's trying to, as Google tells me, wrestle with fate, loss and identity before coming face to face with a school shooter in this searing debut. I can't comment on this anymore. Then I can say that I'm really looking forward to this book. Next up is another Kindle ebook, and this is Karna's Wife by Kavita Kane. This had been on my wish list for a long time because I did read The Fisher Queen's Dynasty I think a couple of years ago by the same author, and I really enjoyed reading it. So I was like, I really want to learn more about Karna through a different perspective, and this is from Karna's wife's perspective, Uruvi, and it tells us her story and how her story mingles with Karna's, and I'm really excited to read this one. I'm not sure when I will, maybe December perhaps, I'm not really sure because it's going to be a really difficult time to choose books. Next up is Draupadi, the Tale of an Empress by Sai Swarupa Iyer. As you know, I've spoken about Sai Swarupa Iyer in my Indian author recommendations video, and she was the only author from that list that I haven't read, but I'm really excited to read, and about whom I'm really confident that I will like and that I will really enjoy. And I know that's a lot of expectations to put on one book or one author, but I'm really hopeful, I'm really optimistic about her writing. Next up is a Hindi book by actor Manav Kaul, and it's not really fair to just bracket him as an actor because he's an author, he's a playwright, he's a director, and he's so much more. And the book I'm talking about is Bahut Dur Kitna Dur Hota Hai, and I'll be very honest with you, I bought this only because it was written by Manav Kaul and for no other reason. And having seen his Hindi poems, I am really damn sure that this is going to be a cracker of a book, and I don't really need to know what this is about. And moreover, it's fine with me because I do like to go in blind into a book, and sometimes I'll just read the blurb and then forget it completely. I mean, it's not like I do it on purpose, but it works for me, so I'm just going to roll with it. Next up are 3 Kindle ebooks that I bought because they were super cheap and also because I was really excited to read them. I still am. The first in this lot is Pachinko by Minjin Lee. This has been classified as historical fiction and domestic fiction, an epic historical novel following a Korean family who eventually migrates to Japan. It's the first novel written for an adult English-speaking audience about Japanese Korean culture. That sounds really interesting, and I didn't know what this was about because I'd only been seeing a lot of people talk good things about this book, and there was no place, there was nobody, absolutely nobody who had said that this book isn't good. So I was like, I get it, I get the hint. The next book, I don't know why I bought it because I did not like one of her earlier works and I DNF'd it, and I have absolutely no explanation for it except that I was getting it at 49 rupees. The book I'm talking about is A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. I might not have spoken about this on my channel because I was not active at the time when I DNF'd the book. And when I started reading To the Lighthouse earlier this year, I was so annoyed with it. I mean, I think that was my first DNF of this year. Or second. That was my second DNF of the year. And now I went and bought A Room of One's Own. I think it was just the hope that this was going to be a little different than that one and that I will be able to sit through it that made me buy it, apart from the low price. Next up is The Peshwa, The Lion and the Stallion by Ram Sivasankaran. I had read the second book in this series last year, and I really enjoyed it. The writing was crisp, it was really well written, so I was like, okay, I need to get the first in this series. And this book, let me tell you, let me consult Google. This is the story of Marathi warrior Peshwa Bajirao and his rise to power. Fascinated with the idea of battles, wars, campaigns, military strategy and their aftermath, Ram unexpectedly came across the warrior Bajirao in books. I don't know why I'm scrunching my eyebrows like that. Okay. Next up is The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. This was a Reese's book club pick, and people, irrespective of this being picked in that club, I mean, it's not like it's a badge of honor or something, although it literally is, because there's a Reese's book club badge here. But there are a lot of people who are saying if you're going to read The Henna Artist, you're in for a great time. It's a really amazing book. So I'm like, say no more. This one is about, wait, why? Put the blurb on the back, not here. Escaping from an arranged and abusive marriage, 17-year-old Lakshmi makes her way alone from her 1950s rural village to the vibrant pink city of Jaipur. There she becomes the henna artist and confidant, most in demand to the wealthy women of the upper class. Next up is Art Matters by Neil Gaiman and illustrated by Chris Riddell. I've spoken about this book in my August wrap-up, I think. Yes, I've spoken about this book and I gave this a full 5 out of 5 stars because of how amazing this is. And Neil Gaiman talks about how much art matters and how we should not, be discouraged, and that it's also okay to be discouraged but bounce back. And I love this because it came to me at a time when I was not feeling really good about what I was doing, especially on BookTube and Bookstagram. This is a book that I would highly recommend to everyone. Please go and read it. It's amazing. Listen to Neil Gaiman. He has some pure words of wisdom. Next up is Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. I hope I didn't butcher that name, and translated by Antonia Lloyd-Jones. And this is set in Poland, in which Janina Duszewsko, an eccentric woman in her 60s, recounts the events surrounding the disappearance of her 2 dogs. She's reclusive, preferring the company of animals to people. She's unconventional, believing in the stars, and she's fond of poetry of William Blake, from whose work the title of the book is taken. Oh! Okay, I thought it was a really interesting, title, because why would you drive your plow over the bones of the dead? So I realized that I have to read William Blake to learn more about it. Next up is a trilogy that I was getting at a really decent price on Flipkart, and that trilogy is the Ibis Strategy by Amitav Ghosh. First is, oh my god, my hand. Okay. First is The Sea of Poppies. Not The Sea of Poppies, Sea of Poppies. Next is River of Smoke. And then is Flood of Fire. I have to admit, I have never read Amitav Ghosh before. And I'm really intrigued to read these books because they have a really wide following, and that it's really well written and it's really well plotted out and whatnot. So I was getting it at a decent price, so went ahead and bought it. Next up is another NetGalley arc, and that is How to Date Them by Stuart Getty, and this is on my September TBR, and I hope I will be able to read this. And I don't think it's kind of a guide kind of thing for others to learn how to address non-binary people, but I really hope that this will be a stepping stone in my education towards being a better person. That's all. I know that's a lot of expectation and it's not fair, but I really want to be better. I really want to do better. Next up is a Rakhi gift that I got from my older brother, and that trilogy is the Winter Night Trilogy by Catherine Arden. This is based on Russian folklore and has been on my wish list for ages. And when Rakhi came around, Raksha Bandhan rolled around this time, I was like, I know what I'm going to get. I know, and thank you a lot for that. I'm really excited to read this, and hopefully I will read it in October. I'm not sure, I can't make any promises because even the TBRs that I make, they end up like going downhill. And how? Next up is Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. I saw this on a profile that I follow on Instagram. It's called Crime by the Book, and she was really raving about this book, and I checked the price, and because I don't have any self-restraint, right? So I checked the price, and the Kindle ebook was for a decent price, a very reasonable price, so I bought it. And this is about a mystery, thriller, suspense, psychological thriller. That's how it's dubbed on Google. Like, you're putting in everything over there, huh? Fine. Okay, I see it. But yes, that does not take away from the fact that I'm really excited to read this book, especially because of the glowing review that Abby gave it. So I'm sorted. Next up is a book that we pre-ordered, but it hasn't yet come home, and I'm really sad about it for whatever reason. I'm supposed to be reading it for the Fresh Off My Shelf readathon, and it's like I'm going to come whenever. The book I'm talking about is Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. This is first in a fantasy series, duology. This is the first in a fantasy duology, and I'm really excited to read this book, especially because of that gorgeous cover. I mean, next up is a book that I bought at a very cheap price. This is a hardcover and I got it for 65 rupees. And the book I'm talking about is Estuary by Perumal Murugan. I don't have a great history with Perumal Murugan's books. Like, I liked Punachi, but I did not like Songs of a Coward, and I thought this was an okay price to pay for a book that I don't know what I will feel about. Not to say that this is going to be a bad book, but given my history, we really can't tell. And why did I buy the book? Cover and price. The next book has my heart. Like, I cried like a baby after I read this book, and when I tweeted about this book, the author retweeted me and said thanks Sonali, and I lost my shit. Like, I cried and I still can't feel my heart. The book I'm talking about is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. As you know, Matt Haig is one of my favorite people on the planet. Not just favorite authors, favorite people on the planet. This is such a beautifully written story. I wrote a whole blog post about this, and I'll probably be posting it before this video goes up. That means I have to post it tomorrow or something. But I will leave the link to that in the description box below if you'd like to go check that out. And for reasons why you need to read this book, you need to pick this book up. You read that blog post, or I will talk about it in the first part of my September wrap up, so stay tuned for that. But please do read this book. I'm so glad I have it. I can't wait to read Matt Haig's other books. Like, the very memory of this book is like bringing me to tears. It's like that. Okay, next up is another book that we pre-ordered, which still hasn't come home, but that's okay. I'm not reading it this month anyway, so I'm fine with it. The book I'm talking about is Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar. This is based on Hindu mythology. It's a fantasy based on Hindu mythology, so I'm like really excited to read it. And a lot of good reviews have been coming this way. I mean, it's not glowing reviews, but fantasy based on Hindu mythology is so rare, and I was like, I need this book in my life and I need to read it. Next up is Girl in White Cotton by Avni Doshi. This has been longlisted for the Booker Prize 2020, and I don't know what exactly the thing about the name of this book is. Is this called Girl in White Cotton in India and Burnt Sugar Abroad, or if it's the other way around? I'm really not sure, but this sounds like an interesting read. Like, it talks about the relationship between a mother and her daughter, and I'm so down for that. Like, I'm really excited to read this book. I mean, I know it's going to be deep and intense and everything, but still, that like contributes to the excitement, or contributes to how much I'm looking forward to it. Next up is Against the Loveless World by Susan Abul Hawa. Susan Abul Hawa is a Palestinian author. There was a huge outcry about how Colum McCann was longlisted and not her, when Colum McCann is a white author writing from a Palestinian's perspective, and Susan Abul Hawa being a Palestinian, this is an Own Voices book, and she was not longlisted. I mean, it all comes down to the fact that a white person writing about anything in the world will be deemed amazing and great, and actual people writing about their own experiences, not about their own, it's sort of a thing that writing from experience, they are ignored. Next up is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This is a fantasy novel, and I got this off of a friend who was unhauling it, and I'm not sure. I won't be reading this anytime soon, that's for sure, which is why I'm not in a hurry to get the second book in the series, Unravel the Dusk. And maybe after my book buying ban is done, maybe I'll go and buy this, or maybe not, because I don't know. If I get a mood to read this, then I'll buy that one. So there's no hurry as such, because I think this is a trilogy. I'm not sure. And the third book, without the third book, I don't know if I'm going to, you know, actually start the series. Next up is Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Barron, and that book has not yet come. I think it will come tomorrow or day after, I'm not sure, but that is a Drama Queenathon book club pick, and I'll also be reading it for the Fresh Off My Shelf readathon that I'm hosting this month. And it's a Cinderella retelling, and it has a female romance, and that's all I needed to know about this book before I was like, okay, I want to read this book, and I just want to discuss it with people, because there's so much going on there on that blurb that I am very excited to read this. Next up are 3 books that Pan Macmillan India very kindly sent over to me, and I'm so excited to read these. Thank you, Pan Macmillan India, for sending me these books. And the books in question are, I'm just going to go through them one by one, and they are Joy at Work by Marie Kondo and Scott Sonnenschein. And I've talked a lot about this book in, I think, the past million or so videos. I haven't made those many, but still, this is Marie Kondo and Scott Sonnenschein talking about making your workplace easier. And Marie Kondo talks about how to apply the, you know, KonMari method, the decluttering method, to your workplace. So I'm really excited to read this. I will also be coming up with a video review for this book, so if you'd like to check that out, then please stay tuned. Okay, I don't care about aesthetic now, I'm just going to put it because it's a lot of work. The next the next book is The Loneliness of Hira Barua by Arpita Patangia Kalita. This is an Assamese author, and this was originally written in Assamese, and it was translated into English by Ranjita Biswas. And this is a collection of short stories, and I'll be reading this for the Fresh Off My Shelf readathon, and I'm really excited to read this. I realize I'm saying a lot of ands in this, like there could be full stops, but no, there are going to be conjunctions here. Okay, but yes, I'm really excited to read this one, and hopefully it will be one that I will really treasure. And third is Ahalya by Koral Dasgupta. This is a mythological retelling / fiction. I'm not really sure which it falls under. I think it's mythological fiction, and this talks about Ahalya, who was cursed by her husband sage Gautama for indulging in a physical relationship with Indra. But is there another story to Ahalya's truth? Who was Indra anyway? A king, a lover, a philanderer? This is the first book in the Sati series. Okay, this sounds amazing, and let me tell you, first of all, the book is so, you know, compact and nice to look at and nice to hold. The cover is also just stunning. I mean, how can you not fall in love with that cover? It's I love this. I have a feeling that this is going to be a great one, and this is only about 190 pages, so not 190, 200 pages long, so it's going to be a pretty easy read comparatively compared to those tomes over there. Next up is Fortune Soldier by Alex Rutherford. Someone on Instagram was unhauling this, so I got this from them, and this is the story of Robert Clive. I did read the blurb, but you know my memory, so I'm just going to read it for you. It is 1744, and Nicholas Ballantyne, a young Scotsman dreaming of a life as laird of his ancestral estate, finds himself quite unexpectedly on the Winchester, a ship bound for Hindustan, seeking to begin a new life as a writer on the rolls of the British East India Company. On board, he meets the spirited and mercurial Robert Clive, determined at whatever cost to make a fortune in a land of opportunity. Over the years, their friendship sees many twists and turns as Clive's restless hunger for wealth and power takes him from being a clerk to a commander in the company forces, masterminding plans to snuff out rival French interests in Hindustan, and eventually leading his men to victory at Plassey, the prelude to nearly 2 centuries of foreign rule in Hindustan. Okay, a little bit of oh, nice. Oh, sorry. I just saw that the person who had owned this before, they stamped it here, and I find that really sweet for some weird reason. Okay, so this is like history, chapter on history, historical. There are fictional elements also in this book. I'm on a sort of a learning history kind of spree at the moment, and I'm also planning a series of videos on it, so I will ask you about it. Next up is the Mime Order, the second in the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. As you know, I got the third in the series in July, and I ordered this also at that time, but it came very damaged, so we had to return it. But now we looked for the seller and all that, and we then ordered it, so this came home. I've also gotten the Kindle edition of The Pale Dreamer. That is a Bone Season novella, and apparently a lot of people have been saying that reading The Pale Dreamer will be very helpful, because the Bone Season has a lot of information going that is a little difficult to process. I really don't know, please do not fall. I keep saying that, please do not fall. Next up is another book sent to me by Bloomsbury India, and this is a proof copy. I mean, their proof copies are absolutely gorgeous, but this one is a book that I am really excited to read, and that book is Here is the Beehive by Sarah Crossan. Toffee by this author is on my wish list and has been for a long time, and I'm really excited to read that as well. I don't know, I won't be ordering it anytime soon because now I'm on a book buying ban, but this one, maybe it's a good place to start, because I have heard a few good reviews about this book, so I hope that goes well at least. So look at what it says. It's just one question over here. It says, what happens when you lose something the world never knew was yours? Okay, that makes me think. That makes me think. Oh, don't, please, just like 10 minutes. Next up is You Beneath Your Skin by Damayanti Biswas. This is touted as a psychological thriller, and I am really here for it. Like, I love thrillers. I love the way they make my heart beat, and they make me want to just keep turning the pages and reading more. Let me just read what this is about. Just one paragraph. It's a dark, smoke-choked New Delhi winter. Indian-American single mother Anjali Morgan juggles her job as a psychiatrist with caring for her autistic teenage son. She is in a long-standing affair with ambitious police commissioner Jatin Bhatt, an irresistible attraction that could destroy both their lives. Jatin's home life is falling apart. His handsome and charming son is not all he appears to be, and his wife has too much on her plate to pay attention to either husband or son. But Jatin refuses to listen to anyone, not even the sister to whom he is deeply attached. Okay, fine. I'm cool. Next up is a Penguin clothbound edition that I got because my old copy of this book is really tattered, and I get really scared reading tattered books. So the book I'm talking about is Emma by Jane Austen. This is obviously a Penguin clothbound, and I'm in love with Penguin clothbound editions. And as I've said before, one day I'm going to own all the Penguin clothbound editions possible that are available in the market over there, and sell off all my other copies. Is there anything wrong with that though? But yes, this is a book that I am really excited to read, especially after I read Pride and Prejudice earlier this year, and I love Jane Austen's writing. I can't put this on there because that's going to topple the F off. So I'll put it here. You can't see it. Anyway, it's fine. Next up is another book that Bloomsbury India very kindly sent over to me, and that is The Wild Way Home by Sophie Kirtley. And this is the story of Charlie, whose baby brother is born with a heart condition, so he runs away from home. I think he runs away from the hospital, and he has to find his way home, which is why the title, The Wild Way Home. And what all he encounters on that journey forms the entire story. And I'm really excited to read this because this reads like a children's book, and you know how much I love children's books. They are easy to read, and they are fun, and they have a lot of morals in there which make me go, oh. So yes, thank you Bloomsbury for this book. October is going to be a great month. Next up is a book that was on my wish list for a long time. You see the pattern, right? There's a lot of books in this video like that. The book I'm talking about is Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother by Amy Chua. We went to Crossword the other day, and this was on 50% off. I mean, it's not in great condition, but it's much better than what Amazon is selling it for, and it came to about 175 rupees, so that's fine. That's completely fine. So yes, this is about a story about a mother, 2 daughters and 2 dogs. It's about a bitter clash of cultures, fleeting taste of glory, and how I was humbled by a 13-year-old. Okay, that's why this was on my wish list. There's a reason. Please don't fall. Okay, I've got to get through this pretty fast. So So like I mentioned earlier in the video, like I don't know how early in this video it was because this has been going on for way too long, but I mentioned that I got 3 books last night, and the first one is a Nikita Gill book. It is called Your Soul is a River, and I got it for 99 rupees on Kindle, and the paperback is like 8,422 rupees. So I thought the Kindle is the best bet for now, and I'm not going to pass up any opportunity to get a Nikita Gill book. When the paperback comes, I'll buy that also, but for now the Kindle edition, it has my whole attention is over there. Next is a collection of short stories by Saadat Hasan Manto, and I've never read Manto before, and since I'm on like a Hindi spree or something, I thought this would be a good idea to buy. And the last book on this video, and for a while now, is The Tree with 1,000 Apples by Sanchit Gupta. This is, I think, set in Kashmir. I'm not really sure about what it is exactly, but this has been on my list for a long time, so it was at a pretty reasonable price, so I bought it. And I must tell you that late night buying is, I don't advise it, because you buy everything you lay eyes on. And in my defense, I had Kindle credits that I got due to shopping on Prime Day, so those were all the books that I bought / got in August and early September. Which of these have you read? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you not like? Which ones do you want to read? Which ones do you want to add to your TBR? Which ones do you want to add to your wish list? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.